Derrick Jones Jr., the pride of Chester, West Philly, Archbishop Carroll, has developed into a great role player in the NBA. Is he someone the Sixers should consider in free agency? We'll talk about that more and next on Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Do it today, people. Definitely do it today. But I'm Keith Pompey, and this is my right-hand man, John Mitchell. We are the co-hosts of Locked On 76ers. We got a lot to talk to y'all about. First segment, we're going to talk about Derrick Jones Jr. Second segment, we're going to dive into three players that possibly or the Sixers could pick at 16 if they keep it, right? So here we go. The one player is going to be Tristan da Silva. But John, so you from West Philly, Derrick Jones is from Chester, but he also lived in West Philly, from what I hear. I keep getting confused with that because it keeps going back and forth, right? But, do you think, Derrick Jones, for y'all who don't know, Derrick Jones, like I said, he went to Carroll. He ended up going to UNLV. He was playing for the Miami Heat. He was a two-way player at a time. Then he ascended to becoming the slam dunk champion. And he's been with a couple of different teams. And now he's with Dallas. And he's been a pretty good addition to that squad.
Yeah.
Right? And he's going to become a free agent. Do you think he'll be a good fit to come back home to the crib and play?
I would definitely consider Derrick Jones Jr. As you try and build out the roster, you want to find as many pieces as possible. And I think he's making like 2.3 million or something like that in Dallas. And you're talking about a guy, and kudos to Jason Kidd for developing him. But he's turned to a starter for them on a very good team. He's a guy who plays defense. I'm just looking at some of his games during the playoffs, in particular when Dallas eliminated OKC. He went for in back-to-back games. He went for 17, went for 19, went for 22. He has reached double figures once against Boston. He's proven himself to be a good defender. And when he was at UNLV, I have to be honest, I didn't see him. I heard about him when he was at Archbishop Carroll, and they were saying that his athleticism is off the chart. And then we went on to see him win the slam dunk contest with some fantastic dunks. And he had one game dunk. I think it was in-game dunk against Chicago, one of the greatest dunks I've ever seen. If you YouTube that, you'll see. Is he a fit for the 76ers? Yeah, what do they have? If you have a quality player, and you think he can fit alongside your guys, and he's a guy he's not going to guy who's going to demand a lot of shots. He's a guy that's going to play the passing lanes. He's a guy who's going to play, be a very good on-ball defender. Shout out to him. He's turned himself, because when he came out of UNLV, a lot of people thought that, he's coming out too early. He needs to incubate it for a little bit longer. But he's turned to a good player, man. Sometimes you worry about bringing a kid back home. I don't think that's the case here. I'm not going to jump into the typical cliche, any young African American boy. That's really what they're saying. You bring an African American basketball player back to where he's Chicago, New York. Oh, I don't know if he can handle growing up and playing in his city. They said about Rasheed. So no, I have no worries in that area. I like him. And if you also think about it, he's the type of player that Nick Nurse likes. He's long, he's angular, he's lengthy. Nick Nurse likes that type of player. So so you bring him in here. He gives you some good scoring, but he gives you very good defense. You need perimeter defenders. That was a weakness. That's been a weakness for the 76ers.
Yeah, you talk about long and lengthy. He's 6'6". He's listed at 210 pounds. I don't know if he weighs 210 pounds.
He's light. He's kind of light in the ass.
Yeah. Like, this is crazy because I'm looking at one thing says he's 210, but I looked at something else that said at Carroll he was 180 pounds. So he looks like closer to maybe like $190, right? But he's long, athletic.
You confusing him with Rip Hamilton.
I know.
The pride of Coatesville.
I know, right? But the thing is, he did win the slam dunk contest. In 2020 when he was with the Miami Heat, and it was one of those things where the thing that's the good part about him is a lot of guys go to Miami and they put up numbers, and then they say, "Oh, they can't do that again."
Right.
They're like system guys.
Right.
And right now he's having a career year. Like the most points he averaged before this season was his last year in Miami when he averaged 8.5. Mm-hmm. Right now, this season in the regular season, he averaged 8.6. Right. So he having a great year. He also shot 34.3% from free, which is also a career high. So yeah, he is a guy that they can look at and someone that they can have and say, see where it is. But if I'm Dallas, I'm trying to bring him back.
Yeah,
I'm trying to bring him back because I feel like, we're talking about you got a guy on the minimum and he became a starter. So I feel like that's someone that you might want to keep in house.
Yeah. And a guy like J. Kidd has always been a defensive player. And that's why Jason Kidd's using him because of his defense. Yeah. So we might talk about this a little bit more in the next segment. But right now, we want to talk to people about PrizePicks. So what is PrizePicks? PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It is the most fun and exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Man, that's a lot of money. With PrizePicks, you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a PrizePicks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 players, stats, projections, and you're locked in. And if you're looking for promotions, PrizePicks has got you covered every week. From lowering select player stat projections on Tuesdays, which increases your chance of getting a win, to getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. And like here's an example. You can take, since we've been talking about Miss Caitlin Clark so much, you can take Caitlin Clark for more than 3.5 3-pointers made and Breanna Stewart for more than 23 points. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100.
Well, I'm just going to tell y'all this before you do it. Make sure who she playing, bro. Because those stats look a little different. I'm not trying to be ill, but Akbar from Newark, you just got to be real with him. When they play the Bobo squad, she looks like she's in college. When they play the good squad, she looked like she a middle schooler playing against girls in college.
So if she's playing against the Little Sisters of the Poor, You want Caitlin Clark, right?
Yeah, I mean, she'll be good, but she's just not physical yet. I mean,
She's
she
not.
just has to get it. But she talk a lot of trash, though, man. And it's like she talk a lot of trash and gets away with it.
Yeah,
So
she
more
does.
power to her. More power to
Yeah,
her.
she's like the female Luca minus the game.
See? Oh, we'll be
So,
right back, y'all.
yeah. But listen, let's talk about one more thing. Are you watching Fox Sports on ESPN on your TV all day? They've been screaming and hollering about Caitlin Clark. Do you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Probably do. So make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming and hollering. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every single solitary day.
Do it today, people. Definitely do it today. So look, here's the thing, and this is it. Like right now, the draft. I mean, I honestly think the Sixers, and I get in disagreements with people, especially some league sources, some just some fans, whatever. But keep going back and forth. Should the Sixers keep the pick? Should they trade the pick? Should they? Who should they draft? And I'm of the belief that they need to trade the pick, right, and get somebody. But at the same time, that person, that salary, they're not going to make a lot of money, right? So that's cool. So when you look at it, if you get somebody, you got to get somebody that's NBA ready, right?
Yeah.
So 3 people who probably will be available at that time, Mitch, is going to be one, Zach Edey from Purdue.
Yeah.
There's a guy, Jalen Tyson, who's from, pretty good player. I think that might be a reach at number 16. But then there's a guy by the name of Tristan da Silva. And it's funny because he's German, but when you say da Silva, you're like, oh, this guy is Brazilian.
Yeah.
Which is true.
Okay.
His father, now here's the deal. His background is his father was a Brazilian boxer.
Oh, wow.
Who immigrated to Germany. And of course, he married a German lady and he had the kids. So that's where we are. But Tristan's brother, Oscar, played at Stanford. He plays over in Spain now, and he's a member of the German national team. Now, Da Silva is 6'8". He's like a small forward. He could play the 4-2, but he's a phenomenal shooter.
Yeah.
Phenomenal shooter. They saying like I talked to him, he said I could score from 3 levels. I talked to one scout who said he feels the other same way. Another guy says he needs to become a better scorer, right? But in regards to a guy that can come in, step in, help you now, the comparison he draws is kind of like the Tobias Harris mode. But right now, Tobias is a better scorer than him.
Right.
They feel like that he can get it. Now, defensively, they're about the same. He's a better ball handler, get this, than Tobias, though. A better ball handler.
Okay.
Yeah, so he should be a good fit if they go that way. But you know what I mean? It's so crazy because I still think they may be better off just getting rid of the pick.
Yeah, and I tend to think Daryl Moore is going to go the same way, man. I think if they, again, if you, the only way I'm willing to that pick, to be quite honest, is if the 16th pick and you can get LeBron James here, and all that. I think that whole narrative about drafting Bronny and bringing LeBron has kind of chilled out a little. You don't hear too much about that. But a guy like Da Silva, he's quick, and then, like you said, he's a 6'8" ball handler. We're talking positionless basketball. That's the direction the league has gone. I have no problems with them looking at him and the fact that he can shoot the ball because he's he's the new player. They're grabbing players from overseas, and these guys can come in and sometimes they have more grit than the homegrown products. But right now, I want to talk about something that everybody has used at one time or another, and that's LinkedIn. And when you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. And LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than a billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions do apply.
Yeah, well, another guy that I want to talk to you about, just educate you on, is, well, not educate you, but
I hear you, KRS-One.
I know, right?
Keith is the teacher.
No. It's like this guy Jalen Tyson, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of people think he's a plug and play guy too, right? Now the only thing about him is it gets me is, and he's 21, he's a 6'7" swingman. He averaged 19.6 points, 6.8 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 1.2 steals this past season at Cal.
Mhm.
Now I'm gonna be honest with you. This was his third school in as many years.
Wow.
Yeah.
He
You
sounds
know what I
like
mean?
Lloyd, he sounds like the collegiate version of Lloyd Sweet Pea Daniels. But go ahead.
Yeah, he's been to three different schools. Now, the crazy part is he was a first team All Pac 12.
Hmm.
De Silva was first team All Pac 12 as a junior and was bumped down to second team this year.
Hmm.
So the guy has talent. Now, there's some mock drafts and some people are projecting that, he can go early second round. But
Hmm.
you talk to people and they say he's not that far behind from De Silva, like
Yeah.
similar players. So he's a guy I think that is a dark horse that people, should know. Now we all know about Zach Edey, the two-time college player of the year.
Mhm.
He's 7'4", 299 pounds. And the crazy part is he's 7'4" without his shoes on, right?
Yeah, that's a rarity right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it's a big dude. So they're guys. So we'll see, man. We'll see what the Sixers do. But I mean, it is what it is. But it should be exciting. But it should be exciting. But y'all, we want to thank y'all for listening today. But before we go, I want to talk to y'all about what Locked On has launched. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channel app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On Plus, our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available at the free Fire TV channels app. Peace, folks. Have a great day.
Have a great weekend.